Have you enjoyed this morning? Good. Well, it's about to get even better. I have the great honor and privilege of introducing my great friend, John Addison. I have learned so much from him over the years, and I'm so excited that he's here to share with all of you. Now, John Addison was co-CEO of one of the largest, most successful direct selling companies in the world. Now, why do I say was? Because he and his partner, Rick Williams, were able to build an incredible company with culture and values that they were both able to retire from a couple of years ago, knowing that that company would go on to be successful for many generations to come. But when I say retire, for these two guys, it's not about sitting on the beach or going golfing. No, they're busier than ever. In fact, John's partner, Rick Williams, serves on many boards. But most exciting for all of us, I will be sitting in board meetings with Rick on Monday, as he is now part of the USANA board. He will be sharing our wisdom with the home office, with co-CEOs Kevin and I, while John is here sharing his wisdom with all of you. Now, John, when he retires, he is now leadership editor of Success Magazine and just released his Wall Street Journal best-selling book, Real Leadership. He has so much wisdom in this book, and I had the great fortune to be able to read it on the way over and learn even more from him than I've already learned over the many years of just sitting back, talking with him, and sharing ideas and stories. Now, John doesn't know this, but after his 33 years of leading that company, 15 years as co-CEO, we were watching him from afar. He put out an audio tape for his company that our management team, the USANA management team, would pull out and listen to every year or so to reinvigorate us, to re-excite us, to show us that we were doing something so very important because his words were so powerful. No one understands this business better than John Addison. He is a legend in this industry. He knows what you're all going through. He knows what you're doing out there and understands. He knows this is a people business like all of you do. And he is here to share greater insights to help empower you to go to the next level. Please give a warm, warm welcome to my friend, John Addison.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dave, for that kind introduction. It's an honor for me to be here with you today. Dr. Wentz, it's an honor to be here. My dear friend, Dennis Whaley, who wrote the foreword to my book, which actually, his foreword is a lot better than the book, so it's worth getting the book just to read Dennis's foreword. It's an honor to talk with you. And what I want to spend some time talking with you about today is leadership. Real leadership. And when I say the term real leadership, I'm not saying that from an arrogant point of view. When I'm talking about real leadership, I'm talking about you being authentic to who you are. You being the best you can be. All of you in this room, despite the fact we're from very different parts of the world, this is an authentic Southern accent from the United States. This is about as authentically from the state of Georgia as you can possibly get. This is thousands of miles around the world for me. We're from different places, but one thing we all have in common is you are authentically you. I am authentically me. You, me, all of us have to work every day to be the best you you can be. You're in the people attraction business. People are attracted to you based upon your leadership, based upon how you communicate. One of the speakers earlier said that people are more attracted to your enthusiasm, to how you feel, how they feel when they're around you, than they are to anything else. You have to create that environment. Leaders are a beacon. Leaders are magnets that attract people, that make people want to be around them. I believe with everything in me, leadership is the scarcest resource in the world. It's not oil, it's not plutonium, it's not gold, it's not silver. It's authentic, real leadership. Leaders are great unifiers. I love the theme of the conference. Unity. Unity. People together. Building a team. Team stands for together. Everyone achieves more. And so as you build a business, as you build a team, it is critical that you work every day on being a better leader, on being the kind of leader that the people that you're building deserve. The world needs, your people need focused, visionary, servant leadership. Leadership isn't a position. You know, I get asked this question a lot as I've been around with the book getting interviewed by magazines and by TV shows, and they all want to ask, when do you start being a leader? Is it when you get a position? See, leadership isn't a position. Leadership is a disposition. Leadership, the person makes the job. The job doesn't make the person. Leadership is influence. Your ability to get people to play better than they are, to perform better than they are. You know, you study teams. I don't care what type. I mean, Dennis did a lot of work with the Olympics and with athletes and with teams. You know, you see a lot of times in whatever sport, wherever in the world, they'll put a team together that are a bunch of superstars that they pull together on a unit and they think, wow, we're really going to win championships now. And they don't do anything. Because together, their sum is less than each of the individual parts. Great teams are better than the parts are individually. You know, Rick Williams is going to be on your board now, who is not only my business partner, but my dearest friend in the world. And when we were doing our initial public offering of our business back a few years ago that was incredibly successful, and people were going, what is this co-CEO thing? How does it work? Because people don't think people can share responsibility. Because usually if there's two people, each of them are trying to kill the other one so that they can be the big deal. Well, with Rick and I, we developed an understanding that he was great at what he was great at. I was great at what I was great at. And together we were unstoppable. My description to all the analysts and to the stock market people was we were 1 and 1 equals 11. That together we multiplied the other person's capability. That's what a real leader does. A real leader finds the ability to pull the team together and to get them to achieve more. So what I'm going to talk with you about today are 5 of the principles that are in my book. And in all honesty, I'm not up here, okay, you know, my book. My book is just a reflection. It's not a book about things I just thought of and decided I would write a book. It's about my walk in life. Just like many of you in this room, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I'm a kid from Route 2, Brown Bridge Road in Covington, Georgia, which is out in a rural part of Georgia east of Atlanta. I answered an ad in the Atlanta paper when I was going to start working on my MBA. I didn't know anybody at the company, wasn't kin to anybody at the company, and I showed up and I fought hard and stayed with the same business for 33 years and wound up CEO, leading an incredibly successful initial public offering in 2010. What I'm going to talk to you about is not theory. It's not things that, a lot of books you read are written by people who just like to write books. They've never done anything, so they write books. I've always thought a lot of college professors, they're good at teaching because they've never done anything. And this is what I learned walking through the fire, living through the process of going from here and building to here. And everybody wants an easy answer. Oh, please just tell me the secret that's going to make me a millionaire. Tell me the secret that's going to make me successful. Give me the one nugget I need to win. I wish I could tell you it was that easy, but it's not. Winning and succeeding is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a day-by-day battle. It's overcoming. It's getting knocked down and getting back up. It is your ability to keep going when others quit that separates the people that ultimately win. So the first principle I want to talk to you about is to decide who you are. This is very important because most people go through life wanting to be someone else. They'll see someone speak and go, oh, I'm going to be like him. One of the sad things to me in the world now is our obsession with celebrities. Somebody is a celebrity, they must be great. I want to be like them. The truth is, meet a few of them, you don't want to be like them. The reality is you've got to decide who you are. And the word decide ends with decide, which is like in English homicide, suicide. All of those asides mean something dies. Well, when you decide, it has to be the other alternatives die. Most people go through their entire life sticking their toe into the water, trying something, and then, okay, I quit. It wasn't fun anymore. They're great at quitting. They're great at stopping. I'm going to do this as long as it's easy. I'm going to do this as long as it's fun. I'm going to do this as long as everything is going great, and then the first storm that blows, they're out. Well, I'm telling you, if you want to win, if you want to succeed, you've got to decide that you're planting your feet and you're going to win. And that you're going to become the person that you were designed to become. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, the only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. You got to look at yourself and say, what motivates me? What makes me excited? What makes me want to pay the price? What is my why? One of the speakers that was up here on the panel talked about finding your why. What drives you? What makes you want to get up in the morning and fight the fight? And finding that inside yourself is the one thing that when the dark times come and all the people you're talking to say no. I mean, I'm telling you, the easiest thing, you know what kills most people in direct sales? Is a 2-letter word. No. No, thank you. No, I don't want any. No, I don't want to try this. No, no, no. Until they lose the spark in them. And they just fade. Most people don't quit. They just fade away. They just drift away. Well, when those no's come, and they're going to come, you know, at the end of this event, I'm sure you're going to go home, and you're going to be all excited, and you're going to be full of energy, and this time I'm going to win and watch my smoke. I'm going to get it done. And then people are going to start saying no. No, thank you. Not interested. It is when you know your why that is the thing that you can draw on when things are after you. Let me give you an example. The world is negative. I mean, all you got to do is turn on the television. I've turned it on here. I mean, was watching Australian news last night. Just as negative as news in the United States. 24-hour negative news. I went by a Chinese station, did not know a word they were saying, but I guarantee you whatever they were saying was negative. It was bad news. The world loves bad news. I was got in a car and had them drive me out. I wanted to see some of the area, and there was a bad traffic back up, and there was a wreck. And people were slowing down, just like they do in the United States, to see a wreck. People slow down to stare at a wreck. Negative news, negative things attract people. Well, if you want to win, if you want to succeed, you got to be the opposite. You got to be the person that works hard on what goes into your head. In the data processing, in the computer world, there's a saying, garbage in, garbage out. In your brain, it is garbage in, garbage stays. You know, I get asked a lot, what do I think? Because, you know, I'm now becoming an elder statesman, okay? I'm now, you know, reaching the age where, you know, I still think I'm 20-something until I look in the mirror, but you know, you reach an age where people are asking you, what do you... So with all the technology we have now, smartphones, smart everything, apps, pads, or whatever, they're all awesome. It's great for... When I was in college, I had to learn the Dewey Decimal System to be able to find something in the library. Now I can Google it and have anything at my fingertips in a second. That's great. But the other thing that those devices can be is a big, giant sewer into your brain where you can pack your brain with negative thoughts every day. You got to work hard to control how you think. Who do you give the keys to your brain to? Who do you allow to control how you think? My analogy is, look, I love to garden. And I had this analogy before I realized James Allen used it in an amazing book called As a Man Thinketh, which I read later in life. But I love to garden. I have a huge garden in North Georgia. I plant, in fact, right before I headed over here, I have raised beds. I planted all kinds of vegetables, tomatoes, cucumbers, squash. I love to garden. I love to get out in the spring and garden, have a huge orchard. I planted 400 blueberry bushes on my place this year. I love to garden. And so when we moved out to the country, it was when our boys were in there like 12 and 10 years old. Now, I was CEO of Primerica, and I was traveling all the time. But, you know, we get to and I said, boys, you've always lived in the suburbs. You've been denied of having a big garden. This year, we're going to plant a giant cornfield. I'm going to show you how to grow corn. It's going to be unbelievable. It's not like the stuff Mom buys at the store. So I plowed a field. I've got a tractor. I plowed a big field. We planted this giant field of corn. And it was so beautiful. It's in the spring. The birds are chirping. Everything is gorgeous. It was so idyllic. The boys and I out there, planting the corn. Then I took off on the road, traveling here, traveling there, everywhere all over the world. And 2 weeks later, I had a giant field of weeds. Little bitty corn plants, giant weeds of all kinds. I didn't plant any weeds. I planted corn. But what I had was a field full of weeds. That's the way your brain is. In a garden, it is easier to grow weeds than it is flowers or plants. It is easier to grow weeds than it is something productive. It's the same way with your brain. It is easier to grow negative thoughts than it is positive thoughts. You have to, and use this in the future, you have to think about every morning weeding your brain. Getting the negative garbage out of it. Filling your brain with positive thoughts. Read positive things. Read a book by Dennis Waitley. Read something that makes you feel better about life versus worse. You personally have to control your thinking. The second principle I want to talk to you about is build on your strengths. Build on your strengths. Build on what you're good at. Look, Rick and I are great business partners. We couldn't be more opposite in our skill sets. We're very similar in that we're both kids that grew up in the country. We have common visions for things, but we're good at very opposite skill sets. Now, Rick is the most organized human being I have ever met in my life. He is the most numerical, organized, to everything a place and a place to everything. I am the opposite. Addison starts with ADD. Okay, I am attention deficit disordered on steroids. I live in 15-minute creative bursts. Now, in the middle of one of those creative bursts, I'm really creative. But I am not organized. I've tried. Back when I was right out of college, just starting my career, this is back before, iPads and all these things. I went to a Franklin Covey course and got a Franklin planner. Sat through a 3-day course. I wasn't going to be disorganized anymore. I was going to have everything, ticked and tied of what I was going to do. And it all wound up in my trunk in a box. The reality is that's not what I'm good at. See, so many people spend their lives working on their weaknesses. Now, I'm not telling you to not get better at something you're bad at. But I'm going to tell you the truth. The best you'll ever be at a weakness is mediocre. Somebody is going to be great at what you're not good at. Naturally. You need to find your natural strengths. We all have them. It's in our DNA. We all have things we're good at. I spoke recently at the University of Georgia to the business school that I do a lot of work with, their leadership institute. And I told the kids, find what you're good at without trying, and then try like crazy at it. Because if you find what you're good at without trying, and then try like crazy at it, you can be great. You can be exceptional. So build on your strengths. Build on the things that you're good at. Work hard at having a great inventory of that. Find your strengths and let it go. And let me give you a key to that. And this is, again, there are people that are so organized, they'll have a list, in a notebook of the 3,000 things I want to do before I die. And then they tick them off one by one. I'm not that way. Nothing in me is that way. I get up every day, though, and I attack the day. I believe one of the keys to success is to show up and get better. Get up every morning. John Wooden, the great basketball coach, always said, make today your masterpiece. Show up. Get better. Be a daily goal setter and a daily goal hitter. Get up every day and move forward in life. I have a saying that you're either green and growing or you're ripe and rotten. You have to be growing. You don't go through life, you grow through life. It's amazing how people get old at different ages. I can't even believe I'm this old, but I just had my 40th high school reunion. And there were so many people I went to high school with that were old the day we graduated. They peaked in high school. It was downhill from that moment forward for them. But if you live a life where every day you want to get better, every day you want to improve, you don't have to get physically, we're going to get old. But you don't have to get mentally old. You can constantly be moving, constantly be improving, constantly be vibrant, constantly be a positive influence on the lives that you touch. See, everybody wants to change the world, but they don't want to change themselves. If you want your team to change, you've got to be the change that you want to see in your team. You've got to be the person. If you want your team to recruit, guess what? You need to recruit. If you want your team to be excited, you better get excited. If you want your team to be more positive, you've got to get more positive. So it starts with you. Make every day in your life a personal self-improvement movement where you get up every day and you choose to charge, you choose to change, you set the direction, you set the pace, and you most importantly lead by example. The third key, the third principle I want to talk to you about is focus on what you can control. See, too many people spend their whole life in their sphere of interest. What I'm interested in. If you listen to, right now we've got this crazy presidential election going on. The last time I checked, and I checked my emails right before I came out here, the president has not called me on what to do in the Middle East. I know that's shocking. I know it's stunning after you've heard me speak that he has not called me, but he hasn't. I have zero influence over that. I have less probably than zero influence over that. But what I have influence on is really, when you get to the bottom line, two things. And it's the same two things you have influence over. Your attitude in your activity, how I think, what I do. And so you've got to spend your time more, not in your sphere of interest, but in your sphere of influence, where you're focused on the things that you can do. Focus is critical. If you want to be a great leader, you've got to be focused. You've got to know what the goal is, and you've got to be focused on taking steps to be that goal. Most people in life, and I hope this translates well to all of you because it's a great analogy. Most people in life have the focus of an octopus on roller skates, which is a whir of activity, 8 legs on roller skates going no direction. In life, as a leader, you've got to be very focused. You can't be a mile wide and an inch deep. You can't do this for 2 seconds, that for 2 seconds, that for 2 seconds. You have to decide what is the main thing today. What is the thing that I have to get done before I go to sleep tonight? If it's, I'm going to make 10 contacts today, make 10 contacts today. If it's going to be, I'm going to finish this book that I'm reading that is making me a better person, do that. If it is, I'm going to work on my physical self. If it's going to be, I'm going to learn more about our products. Whatever it is, you've got to know what the main thing is, and you've got to get that done. You've got to focus like crazy, because what you focus on grows. If you focus on problems, they're going to grow. You've got to focus your efforts on what is going to build your business and going to make you more successful. I believe one of the keys to that is you got to work. The further up you go, and for the leaders that have a bigger team now, you got to work hard to simplify your message, simplify your approach. I believe you've got to simplify if you want to multiply. The further up you go, the bigger you get, the more focused you have to be. Focus diffuses the further down it goes from the top. I had a great professor in my MBA program, Dr. T.P. Hall, who gave us the example of a gear mechanism. That if you're the big gear at the top, and then all the little gear ratios go down from there to the smaller gears at the bottom, the point he made was, when you get to the top, you can't be thinking out loud all the time. Because when the leader makes a little move, by the time it gets to the bottom of the gear mechanism, those gears are spinning. Then you turn back the other way, then you turn this way, and the teeth on the bottom are breaking off. Because no one knows what the focus is. The leader has to be focused. The leader has to decide what the main thing is and communicate that constantly over and over to the team. This is a business. If somebody said, define what this business is in a sentence, I'd say it's team building. It's coaching. If you want to live a dream, you got to build a team. That's the way life is. You've got to build people under you, and that means you've got to become great at focus. You've got to become great at communication. Fourth principle is you've got to develop a peaceful core. The great Norman Vincent Peale said, a peaceful mind generates power. And if I've learned anything, that is the absolute truth. I have been through storms. I ran a business, Rick and I's business that we ran was a very profitable division of Citigroup when the economy collapsed, and they collapsed on our head. So we had this division. We knew we were responsible for saving 2,000 jobs in Duluth, Georgia, and people's businesses all over North America. And it was insane. We were trying to get a deal done when deals weren't happening. We were trying to make something happen when everybody we met with in 2009 said it's impossible. It can't happen. There's no way. Deals won't happen. And when you're in the storm of life, you've got to have a peace. You've got to have a place you can go to where you are the calmer. The leader. I see the world now, particularly in the political world, and so it seems like now, quote unquote, leaders, if there's a small fire going, they throw gasoline on it to make it bigger. The reality is leaders are calmers. Leaders are uniters. Leaders make things better, not worse. And to do that, you've got to have a peace. Whether you find that through reading, through your religion, through gardening, which helps me a lot, you got to be the eye of the storm. When a tsunami hits, in the heart of the tsunami, it is very calm. The eye of the storm is calm. That's what the leader has to be. And that means you've got to be good at keeping everyone around you when things go bad. And if you're in business, guess what? It's like this. Things will go great, and things are never as good as you think they are when you're growing like crazy. And they're not as bad as you think they are when you're going down. It's somewhere in between. And you, as the leader, have to be a calming force. For years running a company, people would come up to me and go, "John, we have a crisis. Oh my Lord, we have a crisis." And my answer was always the same. As a result of what